Welcome to the Rent2Rent Success podcast, all about creating consistent cash flow, escaping the 9-to-5, and really living life on your terms. This is the only podcast entirely dedicated to helping you achieve Rent2Rent success. It's our place to inspire each other to believe bigger, to be bolder, and to be game changers for good. I'm Stephanie Taylor, your guide on this exciting ride. Let's start up the engines and get ready to fly. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. You are here at the episode 47 of the Rent2Rent Success podcast. Lovely to have you with us today. And today we're talking about Article 4. This is the last in our series of episodes busting common rent-to-rent myths. If you've got no idea what Article 4 is, or if you think Article 4 will stop you from doing rent-to-rent, then keep listening. Before I start today, I want to thank you again for all your reviews on Apple and Spotify. Here's what Jew said in his review. Absolutely brilliant. First class podcast. I have just listened to Stephanie's interview with Walter Pontes for the second time. The first time I did, I was so engrossed listening, I missed my turning on the motorway. Stephanie is the real deal, a really genuine person, exceptionally warm, friendly, and helpful. This shines through in her podcast and her live talks. She's really giving with her insight and experience, and somehow she manages to get first-class speakers on her show who are ordinary people from all sorts of backgrounds that inspire you, make you think, and deliver massive value. Thank you, Jew. Well, thank you, Jew. I just thank you all so much for taking the time to write such heartfelt reviews. We super appreciate it. And it's amazing how, although I'm sitting here on my own recording this, I feel so connected to you. So do get in touch on the messaging or write us a review. We would love to read your review on the future episode. But for now, let's dive into today's episode. And we're blasting the rent-to-rent myth that rent-to-rent doesn't work in Article 4 areas. So let me take a step back first, because you might be thinking, Article who? Article what? Article 4 is a direction under Article 4 of the General Permitted Development Order, which enables councils to remove some permitted development rights. And what this means in plain English is that a planning application has to be submitted to the relevant council to change a house to an HMO, even for 3 or 4 people, which under national legislation wouldn't require planning. It should be noted that planning and permission always has been required to convert a single family house into a large HMO. That's an HMO for 7 or more people sharing. So many people think that Article 4 means that it won't work, and that if there's Article 4 in the area that they were looking for, that they can use that as an excuse not to get started. Well, we have a successful rent-to-rent business in an Article 4 equivalent area. And because we focus on existing HMOs, it doesn't stop us. If anything, Article 4 is an advantage because it means there's less competition over time. Because it's more difficult to convert a house into an HMO, the number of HMOs in Article 4 areas grows much more slowly or even drops as some of the existing HMOs are no longer used as HMOs. And the reason to focus on existing HMOs is that everything is done for you. You do not need to pay for additional works to get your property up to an HMO standard. You don't have the uncertainty about whether planning will be granted. And yes, landlords and agents will rent you an existing HMO, and it will work on a rent-to-rent basis. Not every property, obviously, but the rent-to-rent on existing HMOs works. It's what we do. It's all we do. So sometimes it can be worth your time and expense of going for planning. For example, if you're buying a property or if you've got a very long lease on a no-brainer rent. But generally, we do not recommend that as beginners, you go for properties that aren't HMOs in Article 4 areas. Although there are exceptions to every rule, and Rent2Rent Kickstarter Maria Opaniran has done this successfully. And you can hear her talking about it in the bonus Rockstar episode on the 31st of July, 2020. And it's entitled Rent2Rent as a Busy Mum of Three with Rent2Rent Rockstar Maria Opaniran. And if you're on the website, you can see it at rent2rentsuccess.com/RS6 to listen to Maria's video. So we suggest that you do start with already licensed HMOs, though. It's just easier and less time consuming, more efficient, and we like simplicity. So while others think that Article 4 means that you can't get started in Rent2Rent, you now know that Rent2Rent works on existing HMOs. Therefore, you can operate in all areas, even Article 4 areas. And if anything, Article 4 is an advantage because it means there's fewer other HMOs. But shh, don't tell everyone. Let's keep it between ourselves. So that is it for this week. Now, if you haven't yet signed up for the pre-launch special for Rent2Rent Success, the book, then do sign up for some very special deals that won't be available to the public. It's at rent2rentbook.com, rent2rentbook.com. Sign up there and you'll get the details before the book launches. Okay. It's been great being with you today. Until next week, have a great rest of the week. Remember, believe bigger, be bolder, be a game changer. See you soon.
Thank you so much for listening. If you like the links for anything mentioned in today's episode, or if voice is not enough and you want to see us on video too, you can find all the show notes and lots more at rent2rentsuccess.com. That's rentsuccess.com. If you've enjoyed today's episode, we'd super appreciate it if you would take a few minutes to review it in your podcast app. Remember, we'll be donating to our B1G1 charities too for each review you give. Until then, believe bigger, be bolder, be a game changer.